Hey everybody, Dog8798 here. This is my DVD in-depth review of the 1994 film Double Dragon. Like I said, I love this movie. Been watching it ever since my router went bad. And like I said, this is my full review of Double Dragon. I was gonna save this for my other channel, but with my whole router problem, I was gonna do a lot of the reviews I planned for that channel here. And with that being said, this is my in-depth review of Double Dragon. Like I said, I love this movie, man. This movie, in my opinion, deserved more than what it got back in '94, and it deserved, in my opinion, a much better DVD release. I had to go on Amazon to find this movie. They deserve a much better DVD. Then the DVD itself is pretty good. The DVD itself is pretty good. All I get, but the extras kind of suck. The special features, all I get is cast and notes and stuff I already know. I wanted a in-depth commentary on what it was like for the actors to be involved with this film. Like I said, so far the only two actors to actually speak out on this film are Scott Wolf, the guy who plays Billy Lee, and Robert Patrick. He appears not to remember this film because he says in the early 90s he was involved in a lot of films. Some of them were good, some of them were crap. And Scott Wolf said he loved this movie because he got to film a couple of fight scenes. But no other actor has really spoken out on this film. I would have loved to see the actors thought on this film, and also why the director changed several things of the Double Dragon, made several changes to the Double Dragon mythos. I would have loved to have seen that, but they didn't have any of that. Anyway, as always, this movie is awesome. I love how they have Korean and Japanese subtitles to portray the fact that Double Dragon is based on a Japanese video game franchise, and the movie itself, like I said, was awesome. This movie had awesome costume design, awesome makeup effects, in my opinion, awesome action sequences. The movie was very funny. It had a lot of witty and hilarious dialogue, and there were lots of funny moments, and an awesome soundtrack from the and an awesome soundtrack. I don't remember the names of the songs. I think the first one was called Green Mine, the scene where the Lee brothers are trying to escape the Mohawk gang. I think the song is called Green Mine, and the band sounds like Faith No More. I keep forgetting who the band was. Then, of course, at the end credits, you have the song. I don't know what it's called, but I call it All Together Now. Where love that was an awesome intro. That was an awesome ending theme. And then now for the plot. The whole plot is, of course, is that the movie starts off with Koga Shuko explaining about these two medallions that the good king split himself that the good king sacrificed himself to split in half to save his people, and one half contains the spirit and the other half contains the mind and the body, something like that. And in modern times he is looking for it. He sends his henchmen to a village to retrieve the medallion. They retrieve the other half of the medallion. It turns out Billy and Jimmy Lee have the other half of the medallion, and he sends Boa Bobo to get it. Boa Bobo and his gang to get it. Boa Bobo screw up thanks to the power core led by Marin, and Koga Shuko goes to get the medallion himself. He still doesn't retrieve the medallion, and he ends up killing Satori, Billy and Jimmy Lee's adoptive father figure, adoptive guardian figure, and Billy and Jimmy Lee get help from Marion, and take the fight to Koga Shuko. Like I said, the plot, in my opinion, was real good. They introduced the plot in the beginning with this whole medallion. They introduced you to the Koga Shuko, Robert Patrick's character, his plan. Then, of course, they introduced you to the main two characters of the film, Billy and Jimmy Lee, in an awesome karate match to start the movie off. What better way to start a Double Dragon movie? Than with an awesome martial arts tournament in the beginning? And and then of course, just like in the video game, when the Lee brothers are leaving the match, they're out after curfew, in this film, and they get caught by the Mohawk Gang. And leading the Mohawk Gang is no other than Boa Bobo, the first major antagonist of the Double Dragon video games. And then of course we're introduced to Marin, who in this film is a gang leader, and she's leader of a gang called the Power Corps. And then of course Kogashuko and his boys, Kogashuko and his henchmen, Flash, the woman with the whip, and the two Asian guys. I keep forgetting their names. They always say their names fast in the movies, so I never remember their names. They attack the Lee brothers. An awesome, hilarious fight ensues, and then Boa Bobo, who Kogashuko mutated earlier for failing to retrieve the medallion, he mutates him into what you see, the first form in the video game. And this fight was hilarious. The Lee brothers run around all scared because Boa Bobo has the strength of 10 men. They can't fight him, so they throw several bricks and several things at him and trip him over, and he falls. It's just hilarious, man. And then of course after Satori gets killed, they wander into a junkyard. And all the gangs attack them. And an awesome, hilarious fight ensues, including one scene where a mailman just randomly jumps off some kind of pipeline, jumps off a building, and then some music song that sounds like someone burping called Weezy comes on when the Lee brothers give each other some dap. And then they escape in the boat. The boat gets blown up, and then they get in the water, and then Billy Lee says, "Be careful, man. This water is gross, man. If you drink any of that, your hair will fall out and you get diarrhea for a week." And they end up spitting the water out. Out, and then I love them when they're going to fight. But then of course Billy Lee suggests that they get help from Marion, and then Jimmy Lee is like, "We don't want help from Marion." And then they keep asking, and then they keep arguing. I love that. Both characters were hilarious, and then like I said, I love the personalities of these characters in the film. Billy Lee, he's the headstrong, he's the carefree, goofy, but headstrong and well-meaning and cocky main protagonist. Jimmy Lee, the other main protagonist of the film, he's carefree and goofy, just like Billy Lee, but he's more reserved and more in control and more mature, and the more mature of the two, since in real life Mark Dacascos was the martial artist, and Billy Lee was the guy who Scott Wolf was the guy who learned how to fight for the role. And Marion, who like in the game was a damsel in distress, here she's a rough and tough but well-meaning gangbanger. And then you have Kogashuko, who got Victor Geisman, aka Kogashuko, he was a main antagonist created specifically for this film, but he is based on the Shadow Master, the Shadow Master from the Double Dragon cartoon, which aired around the same time this movie was out. And he portrayed, like I said, despite being weak, when he had that medallion, he was godlike. He portrayed the weak but ruthless and capable Kogashuko, and Boa Bobo in this film. He reformed and became a good guy. He was just like his character, but he reformed and became a good guy. Yeah, I love the personalities of the characters, and in my opinion, despite changing the story of Double Dragon, they did a great job. In my opinion, of capturing the spirit of the Double Dragon video games. Like the Double Dragon video games is about two brothers, Billy and Jimmy Lee. Billy Lee wears blue, Jimmy Lee wears red. At the end they have martial art gis that resemble the Double Dragon gis from the video games and cartoons. It takes place in a post-apocalyptic world, except Double Dragon, the video games, takes place I think in Japan, and they're fighting the Black Dragon gang, whereas the Double Dragon movie takes place in New Los Angeles after a massive earthquake. Massive earthquake hits it, New Los Angeles, and in the video games, the brothers are twins. The brothers are twins. In the movie, they're only described as they're not twins. They're only described as twins or brothers by the other people in the film. Then of course I love the end when Kogashuko, when he finally unlocks the power of the medallion, gets both halves together. You see the electricity in the city go out, all the power in the city go out and go into his medallion. Then he creates those two ancient shadow warriors. Then an awesome fight ensues, and Billy and Jimmy Lee with this awesome cartwheel kick, this awesome cartwheel spin kick move, give them a double spin kick move, and then give them a high kick, a roundhouse kick of their own, and Kogashuko turns back together. They unite both halves of the medallion. Kogashuko says, "Oh," and then they say, "Yeah, you said it." Then they transform into Double Dragon, what you see on the cover here, and the Billy Lee in the awesome blue gi, Jimmy Lee in the awesome red gi. They beat the crap out of Kogashuko, possess him. They possess him like he possessed and killed several other people earlier. When Chief Delirios, the main cop of the film, that was the other subplot of the film, the gangs rule the streets and the cops are trying to take back the streets. He comes in, he says Shuko can't bribe him. Jimmy Lee inside Shuko's body forces Shuko to give $1 million to the police station, and then of course Chief Delirios takes Shuko to jail. The cops and the gangs are united now, and of course the film ends with Billy and Jimmy Lee, Marion and Bobo driving, and with the two henchmen hilariously arguing with each other after being out of work now that Shuko's headed for jail. And of course Shuko, in a badass fashion, gives an awesome revenge line, says, "You think I'm bad? Wait till you meet my lawyer," and then the film goes off. Like I said, just an awesome movie, way better, in my opinion, what people gave it credit for back in '94. I knew critics weren't going to like this film because it's kind of cliche. They're not going to really like anything with video game. They're not going to praise a video game-based film, especially a generic action film, which is what this is if you don't appreciate stuff like this. Then in my opinion, I know it probably won't be. I saw someone write this on Wikipedia. It was probably someone writing this, but if there was any truth to this, I would love to see a remake of this movie, especially after seeing Dread, the remake, which was just this movie only with guns. All right, Doug 8798 out.